it's really important that creators leverage shorts for discovery while still putting in a lot of effort to make sure that they maximize that engagement on their long form video.
Hey Vidya, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Today, we talk about very interesting things going from, AI for creators, what is happening on YouTube, the difference between, typical YouTube videos versus short, teasers, podcasting on YouTube. Like there is a lot, and I'm very excited about this episode. But before we get started, usually what I ask to, all of our guests is to introduce themselves, but instead of just getting about everything about your life and so like sometimes it might be a bit difficult, right? To get everything in one place. So we decided to do this thing called the map. That is basically just like 3 different levels, right? About yourself and your career so far. That is divided in mission. So basically what do you aim to achieve? The achievements, so any notable milestone could be in your life, could be your career, could be both of it. And then the last one is the purpose. So in addition to the mission, the purpose is going to be why you do what you do.
Absolutely. Love the format. So I'll start with the mission here. And it's a bit of a mixed mission as in, personal plus work type of thing. My mission, especially as it relates to technology, is to build technologies that simplify user experiences while improving the quality of something. It could be the quality of life, it could be the quality of actual outputs, etc. For example, at Rizzle, we're building technology that simplifies video editing while producing videos that rival manual quality outputs, manual quality editing. So that's what I look at as my mission. Let's go to achievements. I can talk about a couple of notable achievements in my career. And I want to preface this by saying that these achievements I share with my co-founder, Lakshmanath. So it's not mine alone. But at the same time, my biggest achievement is having built a short video platform that we took to 80 million plus downloads, took it to number 3 on Google Play Social on a shoestring budget. I think the next biggest achievement is having brought multiple 9-figure offers to the company while we built that short video platform at the peak of our success. Due to bad market timing, the transaction didn't actually complete. But it'll always be an achievement that we did bring a $300 million plus term sheet to the table. 2 achievements that I'm super proud of. Let's see, purpose. Why do I do what I do? I love building disruptive technologies. I'm always looking for a 10x in something. I'm a big believer in this aspect of if you want to sell something new and make it big, it does need to be 9x better than anything that people are using today. There's, people have talked about this 9x chasm. As in, everybody who's using a certain product overvalues it by at least 3x compared to what it actually is. And whoever is selling a new product overvalues their value proposition by at least 3x. So it creates this 9x gap, which is what a new product has to fill in order to be adopted widely. So I love finding creative ways of solving that 9x gap or rounding up. We call it the 10x effect. Like if building something is a 10x better. Yeah, things like that.
Amazing. Very interesting. And because you said that right at the beginning, helping, right, creators and, when it comes to making videos, make them faster and finding because the creative concept, of course, it's always important, but then there are certain things that you can make it automatic. Other times you can just get things faster and still getting a good product out of it. So, of course, AI has been a big buzzword, right, for the past couple of years, even more than that, but especially when it comes to content creators in the past, year and a half, couple of years. And so, we all know that AI is helping a lot of creators out there. Could be generative AI, could be optimization AI. How do you think that creators are using AI tools right now? Again, is it mostly to generate content? It is to get ideas? It is to make certain things faster? I'm thinking about, video editing, maybe to cutting silence out of a video. Is it a bit of a combination? What are you seeing that is happening?
So it's a bit of a combination, although I think most people are not yet super happy with everything that they're doing with AI. There's a lot of potential, but at the same time, when I talk to creators, it's clear that they're not 100% satisfied with what's already out there. And I think the first thing is we should look at AI as an assistant that has the potential to be whatever you want it to be for the most part. There are obviously some limitations. Like for instance, if you need help with ideation, AI can help with that. And if you need help with editing, AI can help with that. So it's really about what you want AI to do. But as a creator, I think, given that for most creators, it's their individuality, creativity, and personality is at the center of everything that they do and, why people watch what they create. I think AI's best help comes with post-production work, which is all the editing and getting rid of all the repetitive tasks that people have to do in order to make a great video. And I think that's where, AI can be most helpful today, which is also what we find creators use Rizzle for in terms of figuring out how to take a podcast like this and create clips or highlights from it, or add a teaser to the beginning of the podcast and things like that. So there's a lot of potential in terms of how AI can take free-flowing content and help you turn it into highly engaging videos that you can share everywhere.
And also something else, right, that I've been noticing, finally, I would say that, especially on YouTube, right, you can also now A/B test, like, thumbnails, right? It's one of those things that been asking myself, like, why these things should be like, for years, in my opinion. And finally, like, now they're testing out and everything. I was like, there is the number one, right, reason of click-through rate, right, is the thumbnail, like even more than the title, right?
Yeah.
So finally now YouTube has also this option. How would you use AI in that case? Like, would you just generate 20 different images and then you test like for 5 minutes an A/B test for one, and then you continue? I mean, I know that someone like Mr. Beast done like 100, 200, even more, like different thumbnails that they check. How would you approach that when it comes to A/B testing for YouTube, and how would you use AI in that case?
Yeah, it's a great question. You're absolutely correct. This is a feature that should have been available for years, given how important it is in order to create that first impression or draw to your video. Now, that said, people have a tough enough time creating one thumbnail for their video. It takes a long time to create a great one. And also come up with the idea of like multiple thumbnails. It's a very tedious process for people. So to think that people are going to be able to create at least 3 thumbnails to take advantage of this A/B test feature is a lot to ask from all the creators. Like someone like Mr. Beast or the larger creators who have a huge editing team, can spend an infinite amount of money. That's a very different equation, right? Yeah. But for everyday creators who are maybe creating it themselves on Canvas, and we've kind of done some studies on this, takes approximately 4 hours for people to create a thumbnail they're happy with on Canva. Doesn't really mean that it's the best, a thumbnail. That's kind of the average we've seen. So what I believe AI can do here, it can be quite revolutionary, where, directly out of your uploaded video, it's possible to actually create thumbnails automatically that are customized for your video, which means going through the frames and looking for the best action shots from your video and pulling those frames out, automatically removing backgrounds, detecting, speakers, detecting B-roll content, and also understanding your transcript and coming up with that title that goes, or at least the words that go on your thumbnail for maximizing the impact, right? These are all things AI can help with. And in fact, that's one of my most favorite feature that we've launched on Rizzle, which is the custom thumbnail feature, which uses AI to automatically, like, you upload your video and then ask AI to create a thumbnail. It spits out 6 different versions of thumbnails for you to choose from. And then you can actually download multiple of them and test it out on YouTube, right? So it takes about 5 minutes to 10 minutes to get your initial cut of the thumbnails.
Nice. And is there anything else that you think that it's either missing when it comes to, again, AI tools out there, or something that you think that might be even helpful? Again, we said going from 4 hours to make one thumbnail, right, to now a few minutes to generate 6 or more. Is there anything else that is missing out in the market?
I think, for example, some of the things that we are looking at in our roadmap in order to make video editing better and better are how to introduce more media formats for visual diversity. So, for example, you have the speaker video content, and then people are quite used to adding B-roll to it so that it looks more interesting. But what types of B-roll could you be adding? Like, you could be adding stock media. You could be adding editorial footage if you're talking politics or sports or something. You could also be adding maps and charts and data and infographics and all these things, depending on what you're talking about. So if you're doing geographic or economic storytelling or creating something about the upcoming elections, it's great to tell that story on a map. And it's great to show some charts and data and things like that. If you're extracting a quote or a tweet from something, it's great to show that in a tweet-based format and things like that. So all of these things, I think, progressively will make the outputs richer and richer to a point where you can upload your original video or even a script, and then the AI can produce like first cuts of these with complex media formats, not just like a simple slideshow of stock media content. So these are some of the things that we're looking at building. We already have some of these, and we're adding media formats as we go along.
Is your brand ready to amplify its reach? Well, the Influencer Marketing Factory is here for you. We are a global influencer marketing agency helping brands ignite their growth. From influencer identification to campaign strategy, handling legalities and agreements, to managing shipping and logistics, we got you all covered. We work with hundreds of brands across different verticals, from Fortune 500 companies to direct-to-consumer brands. And we don't just stop there. With detailed ROI analysis, we help brands like yours measure success, transforming impressions into conversions. You can find us at theinfluencermarketingfactory.com or just searching the Influencer Marketing Factory on Google. Amazing. No, it makes sense, right? Especially, with there is all the time, the new social media feature, different generations. Like all the time you have to consider, right, different things happening, right? So from video to image to video. As you said, right, it's also like some of them might be a bit time consuming right now to go from one format to another. And so, automate whenever possible, it is quite important, I would say. And on that also, something that I wanted to ask you, it is that we all know, right, the short form videos, especially at the beginning, thanks to TikTok and then Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, right? It's helping a lot, to get viral videos going up and everything. But then another big question, especially for, YouTubers these days is how do I bring, right, the audience from the short form video, right, to the long form? And let's start with something that I've been seeing more and more happening that are like, teasers, right? So basically you just go on YouTube Shorts, there is maybe a little clip of a longer video, then you can click, right, on the button and being brought there. Any pieces of advice there when created, like, again, a teaser? And also, do you think that AI can help in that case, or is something that it needs still more editorial work with a human being that is going to select the right part and again, bringing the audience from short form to long form?
We're betting huge on teasers, and you may have already noticed that this is on the rise on YouTube. Like some of the top creators have consistently started creating teasers for their content. And, when it comes to shorts versus long form, and you would notice that many of the bigger YouTubers still put most of their energy on long form content, mainly because that's where the monetization is. It's 100x more than anything they can see on shorts. Shorts does help with discovery because, it's people watch it and it's easier to watch, of course. And so YouTube has a growing viewership on shorts, even though monetization continues to live on the long form. So it's really important that creators leverage shorts for discovery while still putting in a lot of effort to make sure that they maximize that engagement on their long form video and draw people to their long form video. So to that end, adding a teaser to your long form video, we've noticed can improve your engagement by 40% or more. So basically, an AI is kind of best suited for something like this. So imagine us doing a half an hour podcast and someone having to manually scrub this to create a teaser. It takes 2 or 3 passes for people to identify like what are the best ways of piecing this together for a teaser. And then they have to make sure that it flows correctly and well and so on and so forth. And AI can do this very, very easily. This is the type of task that is perfect for an AI. Analyze the transcript and pick out like the most engaging parts of this video or transcript. And you can look at many, many dimensions there. You can be analyzing the transcript. You can be analyzing the audio intensity. Like if we're having a heated debate, like, can we pick up the hottest parts of these debates so that you can put that in a teaser? So it's all about like creating that anticipation of getting you to watch the full videos. The first 30 seconds is highly engaging and the first 2 minutes is highly engaging. So that's what we try to do in a teaser. I would say our teasers right now are pretty good, but we're working on a teaser 2.0, which I think is going to be even better, which includes, sound effects and being able to bring the right kind of impact when people say certain words and, being even able to send partial sentences, leaving the viewer kind of anticipating what you're going to say next and that type of stuff. Right. So I think AI is just absolutely perfectly suitable for creating teasers.
And something else that you mentioned, at the beginning of this question, it was like monetization, right? What is the current status? Because again, we all know that shorts are great to get, views, but there are a couple of challenges, right? One, there is still a very small percentage of people going from the short form, right, video and clicking actually and go to the real video, the longer video. And number 2 is monetization, right? Because you can do millions and millions, but the RPMs, right, are definitely like a fraction. What is the current, I don't know if you know the current typical RPM, but just as on a ballpark, like for people that might not be that, again, up to date with everything that is happening, if we have to compare a YouTube video, right, for every 1,000 impressions compared to shorts. What is the current status now?
So I think shorts basically is at 6 to 10 cents CPM, whereas on the long form video, it can be anywhere from $6 to $22 in CPM. So it's just a 2 orders of magnitude at a minimum difference, and it could be higher, right? So creating shorts can also feel easier and less burdensome than creating a long form video. Because a long form video requires more thought on what you're going to say and how are you going to create like at least 10 minutes of content. But it's really critical to keep in mind that the reason the long form video performs so well compared to the short, it's also easy to skip away from an ad in a short form video, in a short video feed. But also the most important reason is intent-based watching, which means that in a long form video, people intended to click on that video to watch it. And so they're going to sit through that ad because they want to watch that video, right? And that is critical because in shorts, they're just watching whatever the algorithm put in front of them. That intent-based watching is what makes that RPM so attractive because it's just better impressions, better chances of actually watching the ad and getting to the actual video. So I think this is one of the reasons I believe TikTok is really trying to get into the long form game. As much as YouTube's pushing shorts more and more, it's like each other, they're both trying to get into each other's businesses, right? And TikTok understands this really well. And this is one of the reasons they're trying to push for more long form content, really get into the 10-minute plus video ranges and things like that, because I think it's hard to beat that attention when people intended to watch something and they are going to watch it.
No, I agree. It's basically the basics of push versus pull marketing, right? What I want to see versus what is pushed to me. And, especially when it comes to, I'd say that on TikTok, with the SEO game, right, is changing a little bit, right? Because also people now are like, what to do in New York City for a weekend, how to, do whatever this recipe, right? So there is also a search component, but it's still, of course, a smaller percentage compared to everything else that is primarily going to the For You page. If you ask out there to 100 people, how many of them go to the following page of TikTok versus the For You page? Only a few people are going to tell you like, yeah, I checked the following, right? Because you don't really follow people on TikTok that much. You just like go there, right? And while on YouTube, this was one of the things that I think that I also heard at VidCon a couple of years ago. If you ask anyone 10 YouTuber names, they might remember, right? If you ask 10 TikToker names, it might be a bit more difficult for people, right? So I think that goes back to, again, the push and the pull, the following someone for the content, because certain YouTubers have been there for 10 years, 15 years, right? So you grow up with them, while many TikTokers and short form videos, they're more commodities, right? If tomorrow they're not there anymore, it's whatever.
Yeah, I think some of that is possibly changing because I think the TikTok generation is kind of growing up, and there are certainly some TikTok stars that have left a good mark on people. But broadly speaking, you're absolutely correct. Like it's easier to remember 10 YouTubers that have over 1 million subscribers, whereas on TikTok, you may only know them if they have like over 100 million followers or something like that. Right?
Exactly. And, let's also talk about something that is quite interesting to see, that is podcasting, right? So this is a podcast. We're recording also with video. It's going to go, of course, on YouTube. It's going to go on Spotify because it also has video. It's going to go on Apple Podcast. That hasn't a video yet. Who knows if it's going to come there? I don't know yet. A big question mark. YouTube is winning the game of podcasting, right? Is it because everyone is already there, and why not also following podcasts? Is it because of something else? Like, why do you think that is like, beating other platforms that are dedicated only for podcasting, and YouTube is still, again, top platform when it comes to podcasts? And some podcasts are very long, 2 hours long, and people still like continue watching. So why do you think?
No, it's a fascinating thing that happened there. During the pandemic, I think that's when YouTube became the place for podcasting, where people had more time to start watching podcast video content, and that sort of trend grew, and people started recording more and uploading to YouTube. Now, Spotify has been a little behind on video. I think they've had a love-hate relationship with video. They've done a few experiments. None of their video experiments have really gone well so far. Initially, they experimented with, short music videos because they were really worried about discovery for music going away to TikTok. But while they were worried about it, podcasting went away to YouTube and they were almost like not noticing that, right? So I think now they're starting to notice that. They're trying to push more video on Spotify. But the key thing that YouTube has going for them is really the community. If you look at a recent report that basically showed that YouTube's the top platform for podcasting, they'd also broken it down into what is actually happening, even though I think 35% of the people actually watch the video of the podcast. Another 30% or so just have the video on in the background. They're not actively watching the video. However, they're engaging in the comments and they're like looking at that. Now, that community element fully missing from Spotify is a huge problem. If you're watching content, you want to interact with other people, at least most people. Even if they're not writing comments, they're reading them. Like I find myself reading the comments to get a pulse of like what people think about this or what people think about the video and so on. So I think the community combined with the fact that YouTube's kind of the default platform for long form video content, this is a winning combination. It's going to be really hard for Spotify to go from this background app to more of a foreground, I'm watching videos here type of platform. I don't think it's the scale at all because Spotify has over 400 million monthly users. It's just, and also heavily used, right? Like as a background app, it's probably like one of the top session times in terms of number of hours of usage. But it's just that, when it comes to active watching, I ask my kids sometimes, like, they're like, oh, why would I watch Spotify? I listen to Spotify, right? So that's kind of, so their brand and how it has evolved has been a little bit of a problem. We'll see how it goes in future. I know they're making a big push for video, but I think the domination of YouTube is primarily due to this, home for long form content plus the community.
It's a great point. Been saying the same for a long time. I love Spotify being a paying customer for a decade now. And I always been saying, unfortunately, Spotify never understood crack the code to become a social app because they did a great thing that is Spotify Wrapped. Once a year, there is this influx, this peak, right, of everyone posting their Spotify Wrap on Instagram. Great tool, great virality. But on a day-to-day, they don't have any component. You cannot leave a comment on a single, episode of a podcast. You can only give a rating. The same also for Apple Podcasts, right? It's amazing to have everything in a library, but you can only review the show. You cannot review the episode. Right. With Spotify, you can potentially leave there is a Q&A section. I don't know how many people, to be honest, use that, right?
I didn't even know they had a Q&A section.
They have one, and the fact that not that many people knows, right? So again, I agree with you. I think that you're already on YouTube, and sometimes you go there and see like what people think about the episode, and many times also do the same. I never comment on YouTube, but I read everything that is happening there just to see. Oh, this is an interesting point. Let's see what also other people see about
exactly, that. Right? Also, one thing I noticed is it takes 4 or 5 clicks to actually even find the video on Spotify. Like there may be a podcast video, but like it's not anywhere on their 3 screens that are primary, right? So you have to go search for it, and then you eventually get to the videos. The video is clearly treated as a second-class citizen on Spotify, and once they figure out how to bump that, we'll see what happens.
And so because of this, what do you think that is going to be, we talk about, podcasting, AI tools, A/B testing for thumbnails, different RPMs, for short form versus long, teasers that can improve and everything. So because this is what is happening right now, but what is the future when it comes to creating content? Are you noticing anything that we should be aware of?
One thing I can say is the future of creating content is going to be much more simplified than where we are today. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of diversity. So, for example, there are all these platforms like Synthesia that are coming up. Synthesia just released a personalized avatar. So you can create your social media content without actually having to be on camera. Now, it'll be interesting to see how far those get adopted. And there's no sign that there's going to be one platform that's going to win out in this race. There's going to be a handful that people use to achieve a variety of results. We're hoping Rizzle is going to be one of the top 3 platforms creators adopt for the post-production workflows. Simplifying, we've already had people who have ditched Adobe Premiere Pro to adopt Rizzle as their platform, and would love to see that trend continue because people moved from Photoshop to Canva for a reason, and I think that area is prime for disruption right now. But similarly, who knows, you may be, I wouldn't mind using avatars because sometimes I'm too exhausted being an entrepreneur and don't want to be on camera,
Yes. Just set
So
your avatar to do the thing.
that's right. Just tell it what I want to say and, just say it, right? So, yeah, it would be very interesting to see how we evolve. But I see several technologies like moving forward and in a very, very exciting manner, really.
Amazing. No, I'm also, quite fascinated by everything that is happening. I have my thoughts as well, right? So I can see that the barriers are lower and lower to create content. As you said, when I started things, I used to have like, Premiere Pro, After Effects and everything. And these days you can have like an online tool, a SaaS that you just pay monthly. You don't have to install anything. And, you can also export things from your phone to, your computer and vice versa. So if you shoot something with your phone, like everything's connected with the cloud. It's easier. Sound effects, audio that you can use with licensing, templates. Think about CapCut, like, and all these things. Like,
Yeah.
it's been like, super easy for everyone to use. So quite fascinated. At the same time, there has been this influx of content. So I think that it's going to take up also a bit of time for equilibrate a bit, because there is so much more. But at the same time, also a lot of the things are not quality standards, right, to what people are expecting these days. So I think that is going to be a bit of alignment, right, maybe in the next years. So I agree with you. A lot of new things coming up. Very curious to see how people are going to use them, and also what the audience, right, is going to say about this type of content, especially with, faceless YouTube channels, AI-generated content, and so on.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think it'll be very interesting to see how realistic this becomes and how people adopt. I think you may have already seen that people are kind of okay with this AI voiceover introducing concepts. We've seen this on TikTok for a while. People are getting warmed up to the idea of AI, assisted content at least.
Yeah.
Fully generated, maybe not there yet.
Exactly. Let's see. Maybe it could be one of the two ways, right? So it's either it's fully adopted, or like people were like, you know what, it was nice just as an idea. Let's just do half. So where there's still the human being with the help of,
That's
AI.
right.
Vidya, thank you so much for joining me today, for sharing, your knowledge with us. Pretty interested to, go and check some of the features, right, of Rizzle, to see what you're building, especially we said that like the teaser 2.0. So that is something that quite interesting. And we're going to also put a link in the description so people can easily click and just go and check it out.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. Great chatting with you, Alessandro.
Of course. Thank you. And this was the Influence Factor by the Influencer Marketing Factory. And I'll see you next week.